My name is Diana Crawford. For 35 years I built Crawford Design Build from a single desk in my garage into one of the most respected construction firms in San Francisco. Every blueprint, every late night, every contract I fought for, I did it with one dream in mind: to leave my only son, Lucas, a legacy he could build upon. The day of his wedding was supposed to be the proudest of my life. The ceremony was held at a luxury downtown hotel. 200 guests, a live orchestra, and a view of the Golden Gate that shimmered like gold. Lucas was marrying Sophie Hayes, the daughter of a wealthy hotel owner. Their families were elegant, well-dressed, and confident. I felt slightly out of place in my navy dress, but proud nonetheless. Throughout the planning, Lucas had been distant, distracted, but I blamed it on wedding stress. Sophie's father, Richard Hayes, insisted on paying for everything. He said it was tradition. I thought it was generous. I was wrong. When the speeches began, the ballroom quieted. Lucas stood tall, glass in hand, smiling at his new bride. His voice carried warmth and confidence. "Today," he said, "is the happiest day of my life. And there's one man I need to thank, the person who made this day possible, my father-in-law, Richard Hayes." Polite applause followed. I smiled, waiting for my turn to be mentioned. Then Lucas continued, "Richard has been a true father figure to me. His generosity, his wisdom, his guidance, he's shown me what family really means." There was a pause, a deliberate, devastating pause. He turned slightly toward me and added, "While others haven't even given a single flower." The laughter died in everyone's throats. I felt my heart stop. The room froze. 200 faces turned toward me. Some looked away in embarrassment. Richard's polite smile vanished. Lucas raised his glass, "To the man who gave me everything I needed to get here." The applause sounded like thunder and knives all at once. I sat perfectly still, my hands trembling beneath the tablecloth. That night, driving home alone through the dark streets, I replayed those words again and again, not even a single flower. By the time I reached my driveway, I had made my decision. If my son truly believed I had given him nothing, then from this moment forward he would receive exactly that. The next morning, the city was still asleep when I sat down in my study. The same room where I had once drafted blueprints, signed contracts, and built the future I thought would belong to my son. Photographs covered the wall, me in a hard hat beside my first project in 1988. Lucas as a boy holding a toy crane. The ribbon cutting of our first office downtown. Each picture represented a sacrifice, a night spent away from home, a dream built with calloused hands. I opened an old binder filled with numbers written in faded ink. The day I mortgaged my house to start the company. The day the bank manager told me I was too ambitious for a woman. The nights I came home too tired to speak, and still kissed my son goodnight, because I wanted him to see that strength didn't always look soft. And now he had erased all of it with one sentence. The phone rang. It was Jacob Allen, my lawyer and friend for nearly 20 years. "Diana," he said gently, "I heard about what happened at the wedding. How are you holding up?" "I'm fine," I replied, though my voice betrayed me. "Jacob, I need you to do something." He hesitated. "Go on." "I want to sell Crawford Design Build, and I want you to check the title on the Monterey condo I gifted Lucas. I need to know if it's still legally under my name." "Diana, are you sure you want to do this right now?" he asked. "That company is your life's work." "It was," I said quietly, "but not anymore. I spent 35 years building something for a son who doesn't see me. I won't spend one more day begging to be respected." He sighed deeply. "The company is entirely in your name, and yes, the condo too." "Good," I said. "Then prepare the documents. I'll sign whatever you need." When the call ended, I sat in silence for a long time. Outside, the fog rolled in from the bay, soft and gray, just like the mornings when I used to walk Lucas to school. That day, I didn't cry. I simply stared at the city I had helped build and decided I was done letting it take anything more from me. 2 days later, I heard the sharp sound of tires against the pavement outside my gate. I didn't have to look to know who it was. Lucas always drove too fast when he was angry. He didn't bother knocking. The front door burst open, and there he was, my son, my pride, my heartbreak all at once. Sophie followed him, her eyes swollen from crying, clutching her purse like it might protect her. "Mom," Lucas shouted, "please tell me it's not true. Alan from the office said you sold Crawford Design." I set down my coffee, keeping my tone even. It's true. The papers are being finalized. His face went pale. You can't just, Mom, that company is my future. No, Lucas, I said softly, that company was your inheritance. There's a difference. He started pacing the living room, his voice rising. You can't destroy everything over one stupid moment. You know I didn't mean what I said. I stood and faced him. You said I hadn't given you a single flower. You said it in front of 200 people. That wasn't a moment, Lucas, that was a choice. Sophie stepped forward, her voice trembling. Mrs. Crawford, please. He's been sick with guilt. He didn't mean it, he was just nervous, trying to impress my family. I looked at her kindly but firmly. Sophie, nervousness reveals character. It doesn't create it. Lucas slammed his fist against the wall. So that's it. You're cutting me off. You're taking everything. I took a deep breath. I'm giving you exactly what you asked for nothing. His voice cracked. You'll regret this, Mom. I shook my head. Maybe, but at least I'll regret it with my dignity intact. The room fell silent except for Sophie's quiet sobs. Lucas stood there, breathing hard, looking lost for the first time in years. Then he asked quietly, what about the condo? The one you said would be our home. It's sold, I said simply. The papers were signed yesterday. He stared at me like he didn't recognize who I was anymore. Maybe he didn't. Maybe neither of us did. When they finally left, the echo of the door closing felt like the end of an era. I sank onto the couch and whispered to the empty room. Respect costs more than money, my son. You just learned the price. That evening, as the sky dimmed over the city, my phone rang. The screen flashed a name I didn't expect, Richard Hayes. For a moment, I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Mrs. Crawford, he began in that smooth, measured tone of his. I hope I'm not intruding. Not at all, I said carefully, though I imagine you're calling about Lucas. He paused. Yes, and about what happened at the wedding. I want you to know I was shocked. I never encouraged those words. Frankly, I was embarrassed by them. His voice carried a weight I didn't expect. Lucas made a mistake. A cruel one, but still a mistake. I was wondering if there's anything I could do to help mend things financially or otherwise. I let out a soft breath. Mr. Hayes, I appreciate your concern, but this isn't about money. He hesitated. You're right. It's about respect. That simple sentence made me pause. There was an understanding in his tone that few people ever offered me. I've seen this before, he continued. Children raised around comfort often forget the cost of sacrifice. My daughter did once, too. I reminded her that nothing worth having is ever free. A faint smile tugged at my lips. You're a wise man, Mr. Hayes. No, he said. Just a father who learned the hard way. For what it's worth, I admire what you've done. It takes courage to draw a line that most parents are too afraid to draw. For the first time in days, I felt seen not as a mother seeking revenge, but as a woman defending her worth. When we hung up, I stared out the window at the glowing skyline and whispered to myself. Maybe I didn't lose everything. Maybe I just stopped giving it away. A month later, I left San Francisco behind. The house, the noise, the skyline, it all belonged to another life. I packed what I needed, sold the rest, and drove through the desert until the air grew warm and still. Sedona, Arizona, red cliffs, endless silence, and a kind of peace that felt both foreign and familiar. I rented a small villa overlooking the valley. Mornings were simple, black coffee on the terrace, the sun creeping over the rocks, the smell of sage in the air. No deadlines, no board meetings, no expectations. For the first time in decades, my days belonged only to me. Sometimes I caught myself reaching for the phone to call Lucas, an old habit that refused to die, but I never did. Then one evening, as the sun bled orange across the desert sky, my phone buzzed. A message. Mom, I've been looking for work. Every interview reminds me how much you did for me. I'm sorry for what I said. I read it twice, my throat tightening. An hour later, another message appeared, this time from Sophie. He's changing. He's learning humility. He works long hours now, takes criticism, even thanks people. I think losing everything made him see what really matters. I didn't reply to either message. I just stood at the window, watching the last light fade behind the cliffs. For the first time, I wasn't angry anymore, just tired and oddly proud. I whispered to the desert air. Maybe this was the only way he could learn. That night, as the wind brushed against the windows, I closed my eyes and realized something. Silence can teach louder than any speech, and distance, if given with love, can heal more than forgiveness ever could. 4 months passed before I saw Lucas again. It was a bright February morning in Sedona. I was trimming the roses when I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. A white sedan stopped at the gate. He stepped out slowly, followed by Sophie. They both looked different, simpler, older somehow. The arrogance that once shadowed his face was gone. He wore a worn denim shirt, sleeves rolled, hands rough from work. His eyes carried exhaustion, but also something new, humility. "Mom," he said softly, stopping at the gate. "We didn't call because I was afraid you wouldn't want to see us. But please, can we talk?" I hesitated, then opened the gate. "Come in," I said quietly. "Coffee's fresh." We sat on the terrace. The Arizona air was warm and golden. None of us spoke for a while. Then Lucas took a deep breath. "Mom, we're not here for money or favors. I came to ask for forgiveness, the kind that lets a man rebuild his soul." I stayed silent. He went on. "I got a job with a small construction firm outside Phoenix. Entry level. Long hours, small pay. But I needed to start somewhere. For the first time, I had to earn respect instead of inherit it. I used to think success was a birthright. Now I know it's a privilege." Sophie spoke softly. "He's different, Miss Crawford. He's learned to listen, to work hard, to admit when he's wrong." Lucas nodded. "Every day I see people who remind me of you, workers who stay late, who take pride in what they do. I finally understand what you built and what I threw away." I looked at him for a long moment. Then I said, "You finally built something money can't buy, character." He smiled faintly, eyes glassy with emotion. "Does that mean we can start again?" I reached across the table and took his hand. "We already have." For the first time in almost a year, I felt peace settle inside me. The kind of peace that doesn't come from revenge but from understanding. A week after Lucas's visit, I found myself awake before dawn, the air still cool over the desert hills. I made coffee, sat by the window, and thought about the man my son had become. For months, I had wondered if he would ever understand. Now I knew he finally did. That morning, I called my longtime attorney, Jacob Allen. "Jacob," I said, "I want to start something new but smaller, simpler. Not Crawford design, something that belongs to both of us, built the right way this time." He hesitated. "You mean involving Lucas?" "Yes," I said, "but under very strict conditions, no inheritance, no handouts, just work." We spent weeks drafting the plan for a consulting firm that would specialize in sustainable construction. We named it Verdant Build Solutions. The startup capital would come from me, but Lucas would have to contribute 10% of his own savings and complete a full year of verified work before earning any ownership. When I sent him the proposal, I expected hesitation. Instead, his response came within minutes. "Mom, I accept every condition. I want to prove that I can stand on my own this time." True to his word, Lucas worked that full year supervising projects, solving problems, showing up early, leaving late. He didn't ask for advice, but sometimes he'd call just to talk about design or materials. His tone was calm, focused. By autumn, I received a letter from his supervisor. "Lucas Crawford has been one of our most reliable and respectful employees. His leadership is quiet but effective. He listens, learns, and leads by example." I sat at my desk holding that letter for a long time. A month later, we met at a notary office in Phoenix to sign the incorporation papers. Lucas wore the same old jacket from the day he first came back to Arizona, but his handshake was strong, his eyes steady. "Mom," he said with a small smile, "this time I understand what this means. Not just the business, the trust behind it." I looked at him and said, "Respect is earned, Lucas, but dignity that must be defended." He nodded. "And love, Mom, love must be rebuilt." We both smiled. No more speeches, no more apologies, just quiet understanding. The new foundation was laid, not of concrete or steel, but of something stronger, mutual respect. 2 years later, I visited the new office of Verdant Build Solutions in downtown Phoenix. The space was bright and simple, sunlight spilling through the glass walls. On one side, a group of young apprentices reviewed blueprints, kids barely in their 20s, all wearing hard hats with the Verdant logo. Lucas stood among them, explaining something with calm authority. His gestures were measured, his tone patient. For a moment, I just watched, quietly proud. When he saw me, his face softened. "Mom," he said, walking over with a smile. I didn't think you'd come so early. I like to see things before the day gets too noisy, I said. I reached into my bag and pulled out a single white lily. His smile faded, his eyes widening. Mom. You once said I never gave you a single flower, I said gently, placing it in his hands. Now you have one earned, not given. He stared at the flower for a long moment, emotion tightening his jaw. I don't deserve this, he whispered. You do, I said, because you finally understand what it means to build something that lasts. He placed the lily in a glass jar on his desk, right beside the company seal. It looked small there, fragile among all the blueprints and tools, but somehow, it belonged. As I looked around the office, I saw pieces of both of us in every corner, the precision of my design, the heart of his leadership. The company we had built together wasn't born out of inheritance, but out of humility. When I turned to leave, Lucas followed me to the door. Mom, he said quietly, thank you for letting me fall, and for trusting me to get back up. I smiled. That's what mothers do, Lucas. We build foundations even if our children have to rebuild the walls. Outside, the Arizona sun burned gold across the skyline. And for the first time, I realized the flower he once accused me of withholding had bloomed in both of us. People sometimes ask me if I regretted selling the company, walking away from the life I built, cutting my son off from everything I thought would secure his future. I always tell them the same thing. Regret is what people feel when they mistake comfort for peace. I lost comfort, yes, the routine, the control, the illusion that money could hold a family together. But peace is what I finally found. For 35 years, I believed love meant giving more time, more effort, more forgiveness. But love, real love, sometimes means stepping back. Sometimes it means letting someone face the world on their own, so they can learn what it takes to stand tall. These days I still live in Sedona. I still wake before sunrise, make my coffee, and watch the red cliffs turn gold. Lucas calls every Sunday, not out of duty but because he wants to. We've even shared a stage a few times, speaking at conferences about sustainable design. He always introduces me the same way. This is the woman who taught me that strength doesn't shout, it builds. Every time I have to turn my face slightly so the crowd doesn't see my tears. After one of those events, a young woman came up to me and said, Mrs. Crawford, your story made me call my mom tonight. I never realized how much she gave up for me. That moment reminded me why I told this story at all, not for revenge, not for sympathy, but for understanding. Because every parent who has ever sacrificed knows what it's like to be unseen. And every child eventually learns that love without respect is just dependence wearing a mask. If you've ever loved someone enough to let them go, then you already understand me. And if you don't yet, one day you will. Thank you for listening. If this story moved you, share and tell me in the comments where are you watching from, and what would you have done if you were in my place.